You are enjoying your afternoon, and I have the pleasure of being here with Igor from Make Love Agency. Welcome, Igor. Thank you so much for your time and your availability to talk with us a little bit
Mm,
about this marvelous topic about guerrilla marketing. But first of all, Igor, if you want to share just the first few minutes introducing yourself, a little bit about yourself, about Make Love, how Make Love came to be, and what you guys are doing, that would be
mhm.
great.
Nice. Miguel, first of all, thank you. Nice to see all of those who joined this broadcast. And yes, my name is Igor. I'm creative director and one of the co-owners of the Make Love agency. And yes, I can tell a few words about us. We started 12 years ago as an agency. We appeared 12 years ago. And from that very moment, we were constantly focused on human resources communications. So right now we are agency which makes employer brands and all kinds of human resource communications. I mean, communication strategies which include internal, external communications, activations. I mean, activities which can attract people, campus activities, guerrilla activities, internal activities, all kinds of creative things. And from the very beginning, we were constantly focused on making something unusual. I mean, unusual creative things, unusual ideas. I can say that it's important to say that when we started, people were constantly saying that in human resources sphere, there are no nice creative ideas. There are no opportunity to launch anything nice. And from that very moment, me and my partner, we said to each other that no, we have to change the whole situation. We have to start making something which will make this market a little bit more interesting for people whom we want to attract. And since that time, we made lots of cases. Some of them I will show today during our conversation. And the last thing I need to add that right now we are agency which has a team of 70, something like that. And we have our main office. Historically, it's situated in Moscow because Moscow and Tbilisi, Georgian capital, because I'm Russian and my colleagues are Russians. But later we opened our branches in London, Johannesburg, and right now I'm personally situated in São Paulo because we launched another branch here. And for a year and some months already, I'm here developing this branch, working with local market and making unusual things. That's all.
That
And I can add that we never worked with anything except human resources things. So marketing tasks were never connected with our agency, and we are really proud of it because our expertise is fully about human resources things.
Perfect, Igor. And that's a perfect introduction because you guys currently are very well known for doing disruptive things, like doing out of the box things. I think that's one of when I look at what your work and what you guys have done, and you are currently nominated for several awards for the work that you have done. Also, so introduce ourselves to the concept of guerrilla marketing. What exactly is guerrilla marketing, Igor?
Yeah, sure. Um, I can explain it like this. We got used to normal or the everyday channels of communication where you can see advertising, like billboards, like banner spaces on websites, like this special advertising slots on TV, and so on. So we know that advertising will appear there. And there is huge problem with this advertising. It's called advertising blindness. I hope you heard about it. Your
Yeah.
brain tries to avoid this information, and mostly when you see this advertising, you try not to remember it because we have lots of information right now in a modern world, in the modern life, and that's why we try to avoid this information, especially. At the same time, this advertising costs a lot because if you want to be on TV or on billboard, you have to pay to the agency which will put your advertising there. So these two factors influenced another thing which appeared later and was called guerrilla. Guerrilla, as you know, it was the movement of people who participated in wars in Spain in Second World War, but they were trying to do this without being attended. I mean, they were hiding themselves in forests, and they were hiding and making something secretly, and that is why this the same kind of name was used for the advertising. Guerrilla advertising is completely different thing in comparison with ordinary advertising, which I just described. First of all, guerrilla advertising is hidden somewhere in our everyday routine. So people who invented it, they started thinking about your everyday way. Like each one of us has this way during the day when we get up, listen to the radio, clean our teeth, go to the work, and so on. And on this way, people from marketing sphere try to hide some kind of advertising materials in unusual channels, in a things which are not made to be advertising place. So to use these channels, you have to spend lots of time and resources to invent the idea. So you have to know creative methodics, to work a lot with different ways of in inventing things. But at the same time, guerrilla marketing can be very cheap. So there are two main points. You have to spend lots of creative resources, think a lot, brainstorm a lot, and look for unusual channels. But at the same time, it can be really, really cheap, and it can be almost free for you if you will be really inventive in this sphere. So that is what guerrilla. And when we will pass to cases, I will show you some of them to give better explanation what it is. And for us, that is another point. For us, it was important in the human resources sphere. People were using very ordinary channels. That was a kind of rule for everyone. So when we start working in the sphere, we said to each other again, "Hey, we have to change this thing, and we have to start using unusual things." And that is why. Thank you for the words which you said about our agency. I can say that that is why we gathered really good creative team, which started using this way of communication um, uh, often, and right now it helps us a lot to win awards and attract people.
Igor, just before you start showing us something about you guys and your work, uh, and after what you just said, how
Mhm.
hard was it for you to sell this type of mentality to the HR community?
I can say that it was it all it this the answer to this question is always connected with proper people. So for us, there is no particular way of selling it. We from time to time we can find proper human resource managers, the guys with open mind who know that they have to change something. And when we see each other, it's like to meet
Magic,
your
magic.
yes, it's like a magic. It's like to meet a proper person whom you will live for the whole life, for example. So you see that these people also have the same idea, but they don't know how to start. And after we meet each other, we start helping each other. So at first you have to meet proper people, and secondly you have to show it to the market. The more you show this kind of ideas, the more people come to you to discuss how you came to this idea, came up to this idea, how you launched it, and so on. So right now, when we have some cases, it's much easier to explain. But at first, it was about people, and people helped us a lot. I mean, human resource managers who tried to change the whole thing about communications.
And was budget not a problem, Igor? Because you mentioned that it's really cheap. But did money come in first, or the concept come in? Go back to the prior to the beginning of your company, and
I got it.
because most of us, Igor, do not use guerrilla marketing tactics, so we are very much in the beginning. So we're trying to understand, most of us, how this stuff goes and how we can also sell it inside our own company. So what do you think would be a good selling point for the internally from an HR perspective for someone higher, for instance, the CEO, when you are discussing budget?
I can say that I want to correct one point. It's not always cheap. It's not all. Sometimes it can be rather expensive, and I will show other cases. But mostly it's cheaper than ordinary ATL communications, which I just mentioned. Another important thing: when you buy advertising in an ordinary channel, you know what to expect. I mean, you know that there will be your the image which will say this, there will be slogan and something like that. But when you start inventing guerrilla idea, it's usually you can't have any idea what it can be. So sometimes we come up, we start brainstorming with this point, like we want to change, to make something unusual in Guerrilla, but we never will find this idea. It's it's all about chance. I mean, it's all about proper situation, proper people around it, and so on. So I can say that it's hard to sell it in advance. It's hard to say that, hey guys, we will launch it. It's like viral. It's like viral thing. You will never say to a client that we will make a viral
Yeah, for
advertising,
sure.
because you can never have this. You will never forecast this kind of thing. You will never know whether it will go viral or not. And that is the same about Guerrilla. That is why we usually make presentations with several ideas. And as it's usually called in advertising sphere, some ideas are like normal, and other ideas are called safe options, like very simple ones for those clients who don't want to make risky steps. And we always during our brainstorms find something unusual like these Guerrilla things, and we try to explain to the client that if they will take this risk and launch this kind of idea, maybe people will it will gain attention, and people will think a little bit in a different way about company, because this company is kind of creative one. Usually we explain it to the client that if people will see this kind of thing, they will consider that company is trying to change the whole way of communication, and that helps. But in advance, we can never know whether we will find this idea or not. And by the way, Miguel, one additional point about Guerrilla thing itself. Sometimes Guerrilla, if it's a really good idea, creative idea, it also can go viral. And that means that you won't pay to anybody to spread the idea, to share this idea, because
Hmm.
people will just love this idea. So if the idea is good enough, people will share it for free, and you won't spend money to make people share it. I mean, to make people learn about this information. So it can also
Perfect.
help, but you
No,
can
no,
never
perfect.
know whether it will work or not. That's important.
Because I know what you guys do. For me, it's very obvious, Igor, and I know that you will show just in a few minutes what you guys are doing. I just wanted to ask our audience. You have the Q&A right there, so if you want to ask questions to Igor or to myself, if you want to interact with us, please use the Q&A, and also be sure to use also the emoticons that you have down below to say if you're liking the content or not. So, Igor, can you just make us a brief presentation? I know you have a presentation there. If you want to share with us something that you have a most interesting video, Igor, that I absolutely love, with some of the stuff that you guys did with young talent, and I am truly in love with some of the ideas that you guys have developed for young talent. I don't know if it's that you are about to show, but I truly am passionate about your work with young talent. Yeah,
Can you please say what case you're talking about right now? Maybe I can start with this.
several,
Ah,
Igor. You have ABB, you have IKEA, you have done such interesting stuff with a bank also for young talent. You also did it
yes.
for a bank. Yeah.
Okay, I can start. Yes. I want to share you different today. I want to share different types. So I want to be fast to share different types of guerrilla advertising, because I personally really love this sphere. And I gather not only, I don't want to share just our cases. I want to share cases from all over the world, which I gathered during our work, because some of them are really brilliant. And so to explain and to start with, I will show some of our cases, like ABB and Deutsche Bank, which you
Yes.
already
Yes.
mentioned.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you for this. And after that, I will show some others, just to give like broader explanation of how it works and why people usually need it. So yes, before I will start, I want to right now I will show a pair of our cases, which you mentioned already, but I want to explain it first, and after that I will show the case itself. First of all, you mentioned ABB. ABB, I hope you know this company. That is an engineering company which produces all kinds of electric appliances for construction sites, for personal usage, and so on. And unfortunately, these guys had a problem that they were considered to be a company for male candidates. I mean, mostly men were interested in this kind of engineering and electric stuff. So these guys, it was several years ago, they came to us and asked us to make something to attract female candidates to trainee programs. And when they came to us with this idea, we said that, okay, we have to change something and not only show the company, but to make people talk about company as a creative one. I don't want to say anything, let's say properly, bad about company, but to be honest, they looked after a small research who understood that this company looked like a dull one. I mean, their communications were ordinary and they were like others. That's
Yeah.
what people said about them. So we had to change it a little bit to make something creative, unusual. And we knew that this company participated in a number of European
Job,
career
yeah,
fairs,
career fairs,
job
yes.
fairs. Yeah,
Yeah.
career fairs. And we knew that they already bought place, stand, and other stuff. So we had to add something unusual to make people be interested in this communication. So we came up with the photo booth because we knew that students love to have something which they will have as a souvenir after the conference. I mean, photos from this booth. But this booth wasn't a usual one. I can also add that that time when we invented this idea, it's not a new case. So at that time, the first software from Microsoft appeared. Maybe you remember that software could have guess or understand your not only your gender but also your age. And many people were talking about it. It was like 4 or 5 years ago. I don't really remember the exact date, but when the software appeared, we decided, okay, we have to use something unusual and new to make people be interested. And we invented coffee machine, not coffee machine, photo booth, where people were able to come in and make a photo as a souvenir. But after that, magic happened because guys, I mean male participants, received just 4 photos as an usual machine. But girls, I mean female candidates and female students, they received also a secret message. And this secret message was on the place of the fourth photo. And this message said something like, hey, come to ABB because ABB can produce so interesting and unusual things like this photo booth. Come to work with us, but this message is secret only for girls. So please don't tell anybody about it. And here, when they left this photo booth, were leaving this photo booth, they were making photos, selfies, sharing in social networks, and it worked. It worked like a viral thing because many people wanted to share because they loved the idea. They said that, oh, the idea is so unusual, the idea is so interesting, we want to share it with friends, and that is how viral spread starts. But where is Guerrilla in this example? Guerrilla was hidden in this method because when people were coming inside, they considered this photo booth to be just a photo booth. But later, it turned to be this channel of communication company with them. I will show video right now, and I hope there will be sound and not. Yes, there should be sound.
Perfect. Yeah.
Tell me, please, whether you have sound.
Swedish
Yes.
Engineering
Yes.
Great.
Corporation ABB launched the Female International Internship in Engineering Speciality. How to take students' attention, motivate girls to apply for this program, and show that ABB is a technologically progressive and up-to-date company. We present ABB Photo Booth that is able to identify the sex. Students visit career fairs very often. Instead of boring booklets and leaflets distribution, we decided to use photo booths with which anybody can make photos for free and get pics right here. Sex Identification Program recognizes who sits in front of the camera. A boy just gets 4 photos, and at the same time, a girl gets only 3. But with the invitation to ABB page, this photo booth has gone on a big journey in Europe, visited 5 cities, made photos of 2,460 students. But most importantly, it brought us 590 applications for the female engineering internship.
Oh, sorry, something wrong. Wait a second. Yes, that. So,
Great example. I love this
thank,
one, Igor. I love this
thank you
one.
very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So, to explain how Guerrilla works, I will just show you main points here. People didn't know that they will receive something, so they remember better the message which they receive in the situation or channel where they didn't expect for it. So here it was. Secondly, it should be creative. You can see that we had to brainstorm a lot to find this idea and after that implement. When I said that it's usually cheap, this one is not cheap because you have to implement software. So it's a kind of, we remade the booth a little bit. So it's not that cheap. But at the same time, it's viral because people wanted to share it. And I always say that if our listeners or those people who will watch video, if those people will at least smile, it will mean that they deciphered, like understood the creative idea. And it's good because they've got, usually, I can tell you a little bit later, next meeting, the next podcast about how creative ideas work, but you got dopamine. So if you see that you're smiling, it means that you just deciphered the message. And the message has to be like a riddle. So it has to be hidden. And the second point is when you want to share it with your friends, it means that this idea works virally. And it means that as you love the idea, you want to show your friends the really great thing which you loved during the communication. So if it happened, then it's viral and it's creative. That's 2 points which I usually mention. And the idea was hidden. That is why it's guerrilla. People were not expecting. Right now, I can show you another case which we already mentioned, and this case was made for the bank, and I will make
Yes.
another short caption for it. Deutsche Bank is a German bank, and they wanted to invite Russian students from Russian universities, where we made this case to work to come to the trainee program. But unfortunately, when we were talking with young people, these guys were saying something like, "I don't want to work in bank. I want to work in Google." I mean, developers are usually like
Yeah.
that. And besides this, German bank sounds like something very dull, and that made us that made us angry in a good way. I mean, that creative team said, "Okay, we will show them that they're not dull at all. We will make the communication which will show how creative and nice they can be." And we decided to make like a pure the thing which I can call pure guerrilla. We took a coffee machine, the one which a with the big touch screen. Usually on this touch screen you can have types of coffee to choose, but in our case we put lines of code on this screen. After that, we put this machine in the campuses of different universities where our target audience was studying. And after that happened important thing. People considered that this machine is a part of their everyday routine, an ordinary coffee machine. But people who saw these lines of code, they were from two different groups: those who know programming languages and those who didn't know programming languages. Those who didn't know, like me, I'm philologist, so I'm not a
Yeah.
person who can write code. Those people were just passing by because they thought that machine was broken. But at the same time, other people who knew programming languages, they always have this intention to go and to read it, to understand, to try to. And those people from mathematical programming and others faculties, they were coming to the machine and they tried to understand what was happening inside. And there was another step. We put a tiny mistake into this code. So those people who understood the programming language, they saw, if they knew this language, they saw this mistake and they touched screen just to try to correct it. But at that moment, a keyboard appeared on the screen so that they could have correct the mistake. So at that moment, they understood that it's a communication, not just a coffee machine. But it was enough because they were already there. When they corrected this mistake, machine said, "Hey, you are so bright and nice guy. Please come to our company to work with us and to make the same kind of communications in our company in Deutsche Bank. Just leave your email address and grab your free coffee." So all those people who coped with the task, they had this free coffee. And you will see it on the case that there were lots of people who came there just to
Yeah.
just to get the
Watch it.
coffee.
Yeah, and to watch.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it was, oh, sorry, I just opened the Russian version. Um, I'm really sorry. I will do this quickly. I mean, there's captions are in Russian because this case was made uh, in Russian. But at the
But
same
if they're
time,
speaking in English, no problem, Igor.
no, this case here it is. This case doesn't have any voiceover. That's why it has only captions. But I want just to
Ah,
show you
okay.
how it. Oh, sorry, I pushed the wrong button. I'm trying to show you as many things as possible,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
I'm hurrying up. Sorry for
We
this.
appreciate it. Feedback is
No,
going great. So people sending me messages saying they're loving Igor. So great.
nice. Thank you. So here is the case. Here is the case. You will see how people approach this machine. Something wrong with me. I'm afraid my fingers are not working properly because I
Yes,
see the
because
case.
I think you're pressing Vimeo instead of the enlarged screen. Yeah.
Maybe,
On my side,
mm,
it's what I'm seeing.
maybe it should work right now. No, again, I don't know what's wrong with the case. Oh, I will close the tab right now. Sorry, and I will show it. But at least people will understand that we were not preparing this
Yeah, yes.
like improvisation. Um, so
But
I
you know
think
what? As you are preparing, Igor, just to mention that this is also some of the problems that we have here, and most of them are not solved in our industry. So guerrilla marketing has not yet arrived in most of our markets. So job fairs, career fairs, we tend not to see this type of creative ideas within our own career fairs and job fairs. So they are
yes,
very traditional, and most companies they spend a lot of money as well because they buy the gifts to give to candidates, and so it's just a matter of a mindset of changing mindset. So if you are
I can.
spending 100,000 euros on pens and stuff to give to candidates, probably you'll get better results with stuff like this.
I can explain it. I have proper explanation of this. That is a kind of historical thing because human resources departments unfortunately gained budgets much later than marketing departments. I mean, historically, like in 90s, marketing had really lots of money to communicate with people, but human resource department didn't have it. That is why there were lots of marketing agencies on the market and so few of human resources. And these few human resources agencies tried to gain just any contract. And that is why they were making just leaflets or just stands for the career fairs. Nobody tried to develop the whole market. And that is what I started with. We saw it and we said, okay, we will change it or we will quit. And I mean, that has happened because we were trying to change the whole thing. Unfortunately, there are not so many agencies and money on this market, not so much money to change the whole situation. That is why I totally understand why it happened. It's not because human resources managers are dull guys or those guys who don't want to do this. They
Yeah.
want, but there is no infrastructure. So I hope that our webinar will change, help to change it a little bit, and maybe
Yes.
we will move forward. So let's check the case, not to waste time. Sorry, I just found it, so you can see how it worked. Uh, so I can close this window,
Yes.
but yeah, great. So here you can see the same situation. We wanted to implement our advertising into something which is not made for it, like coffee machine or photo booth in previous example. And again, that's about making creative idea, and it attracts lots of attention. Besides, when people see it, they want to share it because, oh, it's so smart, nice, I want to share it with my friends. And people remember it much better. That is another thing which I didn't mention, but people remember unusual things made in unusual channels much better than things in usual channels. And that helped us not only to change image of the company, but also to attract these guys. And they were coming to this coffee machine, having this another free coffee. They were talking about this with friends. And as you saw in the case, this machine was used in 6 different universities, and we got tons of people who were ready to talk with human resource managers later because they said, "Yeah, I remember you are those guys with the coffee machine. Yes, I think I can talk with you because you made this nice communication." That is another example of.
Great example, Igor. Just one question about that,
Yes, please.
and thinking about yourselves, you guys. So looking at this, I don't know if it is or if it isn't. You'll tell me. But is this once you do this in one market, can you do this for another company? Or
Sure.
sure?
For sure, why not? I mean, this thing usually works just one time because when you know that this coffee machine is just a channel of advertising, it won't be that striking thing
Yeah,
for you.
yeah, yeah.
But if you will move it to another market, why not? I mean, it will
Yes.
work. If we talk about our agency, we prefer always to launch new ideas because if you will just copy your own ideas, not steal ideas, but copy your own, it will be something demotivating for the team. So we're trying to make every time something new. But answering your question, yes, you can easily do it on another market. And mostly, I think it will. There is a huge chance that it will work. So yes,
Yeah.
it can be.
Because
And yes,
because if
please.
we look at the ABB, at the end you said that it went to several markets, and
Yes. That is because they participated in a number of career fairs over Europe, and we were transporting this machine from one to another. And on every market, it worked the same because there are no cultural peculiarities in it. So all people love to make photos. All people understand how a machine works. All people understand that girls don't want to work in engineering companies. So
yeah,
all these factors were the same in different countries. That we used it. You saw it in the case in Paris, Lyon,
yeah, 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 yeah.
Karlsruhe, and it worked everywhere. It was the same. People used this machine. After that, they were coming to the stand and were saying, "Hey guys, it was nice. It was fun. Yes, tell me please about your job openings." And after that, we
But
gained
that
more
that
people.
Igor, was it a decision prior to the first launch? You already knew that you would spread it across several countries, or in the beginning was it only one, and then because it worked, you went to the other ones?
Yes, we knew it in advance because client asked us to make something to use on several career
Ah,
fairs,
okay.
and we made it. We gave them the idea, and usually that is also important thing. Usually, client has to participate in decision making, and they also kind of share risks with us. Sorry, with us, because when they say that yes, we want to try this, this means that this they also participated in this decision
Yes.
making. So
If it
later
doesn't
we can,
work, if it doesn't work,
yes,
yeah,
that's the team result. That's why yes, that
yeah.
we always that's always an experiment for us, and it's always we're trying to understand whether it works or not. We can fine tune the whole the thing, like we can change text in the message in this photo booth. We can change something like colors, messages, but we can't change the whole mechanics because this booth is already produced, made, and it works. So yes, that is how it
Perfect.
works. Right
Yeah.
now, I have another video. I don't have lots of videos, but I think that will be the last one, which I wanted to show to say one important thing. This case won't be, it's the case of, Ogilvy Agency. It's
Yes.
not made by us. But I want to emphasize one important thing. If you're thinking about guerrilla communication, don't always think about channels which you consider to be normal and proper ones. What do I want to say? You can also use something which people don't prefer not to talk about. And next case is connected with torrents and pirating software. Because when you know that people prefer to steal, to download free software from torrents, you can also use it as a channel. And these guys from the agency, they made a perfect guerrilla case from my point of view. I love this case because they uploaded a photo. They were looking for designer, and they uploaded to different torrent sites, which are illegal. We know that. They uploaded a distributive file of Photoshop software, but it was fake. So inside there was no Photoshop. There was a message to come to their company and receive licensed computer and Photoshop if you will work with them. So from my point of view, if you start thinking about guerrilla communication, you can consider unusual channels, unusual things, even those things which are considered to be illegal or not normal, because they can work as well. So check it, please. I hope you will like it, and maybe it will be something which will help you to understand how it works better.
Ogilvy Brussels was looking for a young web designer with fresh ideas and an unconventional style, so we recruited him in the most unconventional way. We know that young designers without a paycheck pirate the expensive software. That's why we decided to find our future co-worker where he usually is. We uploaded a file on many pirate-sharing websites and named it after the essential application suite used by web designers. When web designers downloaded our file, they discovered that the application suite they were searching for was not in the package. Instead, we gave them something much better. An exciting job opportunity at our agency. The result? That talented Steve is now part of our team, and we provided him with all the applications he needs for free.
So this one is cheap. That is what I was talking in the beginning. If you are smart enough, I mean, if you're trying to gain attention of the candidates and you're smart enough, you can produce something like this idea, which is completely free. You have only to have one or two people who will make this file, upload this file, and you will gain attention. And you also will gain viral attention, which I mentioned already,
Yeah.
because it's smart. It's smart and it's so good. I wish I would make this case because I love it.
But you know, this one for me seems that has a little bit more risk than the other ones, Igor, because not only because of the way it is done and the illegal package in itself, but I don't know, if I were someone looking to download the software, and in the end what I received was not a software, I don't know what my reaction would be. I have mixed feelings about it, Igor. But I think it's very very clever. But because in the end, even those ones that were not engaged or interested in the job itself, the experience itself, they would laugh. It was the thing that you said, emotions. Probably they would laugh and they would say, "Yeah, this is really clever." Yeah.
I agree with you. I agree. I totally agree. And I just want to add that there are risks. There are risks, but sometimes communication needs just to touch as many people as it can. So if it will go viral, and people will. The main thing which I want to say here about this case is that this case is over. They found the person. It was a long time ago, and like maybe 5 years ago, but we still discuss this case. And I think that some people who watch this broadcast right now, they will also find this case, share it with friends, tell about it. So what does it mean? It means that some people were demotivated by the empty package, but right now dozens, hundreds and thousands of people can share it, and companies still gain this attention. So I think that maybe sometimes this risks are worth of existence. I mean, being exist because later you will gain much more attention and people will talk about you. So it still can work. Um, so I can share some
Yeah,
more cases, but
yeah,
I'm not going to show more videos. I want to talk about them. And I have
perfect.
several cases. I can tell you another example, which looks like this case with the package, but unfortunately, I have this case story only in Russian. But briefly speaking, we were attracting um, young people uh, to a telecom company, huge Russian telecom operator, which is called Megaphone. And the problem was that many people whom we were looking for were interested in books about leadership. And at the same time, we at the same time this company was the message of their campaign was come to us to work with us to become a leader. So we decided to make a really unusual guerrilla thing. I'm looking for this case just to show you some images. We made fake books about leadership because
Ooh,
you know that there are lots of books about leadership in shops.
yeah,
You can see it everywhere right now. So we decided to make an empty. Wait a second, please. Yes, it is here. So yes. Sorry, the case is in Russian, but I will show you photos right now. We made a book which was named "Open Leader Inside of You," and we put this book on the shelves of bookshops, of lots of bookshops. But this book was empty. So there was a first page which said, "If you want to be leader, you should never listen to anybody advices. You should come to work and find your type of leadership inside of you." And after that, people who were opening this book, you can see it on the left, they saw that this book was empty. So we put lots of these books into the shops. And when people were opening this book, they saw that there were no advice at all because the main advice here, just to enter the company and become leader. That is also a type of guerrilla, but this type of guerrilla is not that demotivating as
yes,
when you download. Moreover, I can say that the strange result for us was that this book, lots of these books, they were not for sale because they were like an advertising material, and that is why many people stole these books from the shops just to have it as a souvenir because it was
yeah.
so nice, unusual, thick book full of empty pages. So it was something that you want to have in your place, in your house. And people were stealing because it was not prohibited. These books were not, bookshops were not selling these books. That is why you could take this book and steal it. And lots of people stole these books because of it was looking
But
nice.
but
And at
but
the same time, it was not.
this one,
Yes.
Igor, seems to have a large cost, no?
Yes, it was not a cheap thing. Yes, we had to print them. You're right,
Yeah.
but at the same time, we had lots of media impressions. People were sharing. People were saying, "Oh, I just entered the bookshop. I opened it, and it's empty." You know, guys, it was so striking and strange. So we gained lots of attention. But you're right, it was not cheap one. But I'm ready to show you some cheap
More cheap,
examples.
a cheaper one.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Check this one. I also love this case. It was made in Netherlands, so it's not ours. The book was makelove case. This one is not our case, but I love this one. The guys from an agency, a security agency, were looking for security personnel, and profile of this personnel was very close to those people who work in airports, who work as the
Hmm.
people who sit. I mean, these custom officers, the guys who sit in front of the X-ray machine and so on. So check the mechanic here because it's really interesting. These guys found a really bright idea. They put metal letters into the suitcase, and this metal letters said something like experienced security personnel needed to this company, so wanted security personnel. After that, they get into the airport, put this case on the X-ray machine, And people who for a long time see only messy stuff inside of suitcases, because when you go to vacation, or when you go to
Yes.
another country, you always grab something like your computer, headphones, your stuff, and it looks messy. And suddenly there was a message on the X-ray machine which appeared suddenly. For sure, it was not prohibited. I can put anything and people will see. So this was really a real and a really good guerrilla thing, because it appeared suddenly in the place where nothing like this appeared previously. But so people saw this, they made photos of this, they read it, they paid attention to this. But unfortunately, as you understand, not so many people can be touched by this advertising. I mean, how many custom officers you can find in one airport? Like 10 maybe, and that's all.
Yeah.
So it's not a wide thing. So this thing, that is a pure example of good viral thing. Because right now, when I'm showing you this particular example, you see how smart and bright the idea is. And you also, I believe that some people are making screenshots or something like that right now, because it's really nice to share this thing. You can make a
Mhm.
screenshot, send to your human resources colleague from human resources department, and say, hey, look how nice is it? How smart is it? And the main aim of this communication was to touch people virally, because there are not so many people in airports whom you can attract using this unusual thing. But still, it's again cheap, very cheap. You have to produce the case, and that's all. I mean, you can have a case and produce letters. It's very cheap. You have to spend one day going to the airport and making this thing, and after that, you have to produce the case, and this case will go everywhere, and people will like it, and it will work. So
Yeah.
this is an example of simple, cheap, and at the same time very creative campaign, which helped to attract people later because it gone viral and people saw it. That is another example of a recruiting campaign. And this is the presentation which I wanted to show. And I want to show at the same time one very simple case, which I loved a lot as well, and very cheap one, which looks like this. We know.
Mhm.
So before, I think you already understood the idea, but I will explain a little bit more. If you want to produce a good guerrilla case, you have to start thinking about the everyday routine of your target audience. I mean, you have to understand what these people do usually, how they spend time, how they relax, where do they go, which websites they go. And this advertising was really smart one, because people from Apple and Flickr and I think lots of other sites, they knew that there are web designers who constantly go to like Apple's or Flickr's websites to understand how they made something like this particular button or this section of their website or something else. And these people always dig in the code. I mean, I hope you know that in your browser, I use Chrome, for example, you can easily open this
Yeah.
code page,
HTML.
and
Yeah.
you can, yeah, and people go there just to understand how did it was made, like how did they make this or that particular element. So when people get there and you see it looks like a really good funnel, like a filter, because ordinary people will never go there. I mean, I never visit this kind of pages, but those people who make the same kind of product, they usually go there to check how they, or maybe even copy the lines because it's not prohibited. And they put their advertising into the code. I think you know that it's impossible to put images or photos into the code. So they made these logos made of letters,
Letters.
and
Yes.
yes, and they sent a really simple but very important message. If you are here, if you are reading, we are hiring you. So you are the person who we want to hire. This is pure guerrilla, because you when you go there, you are not expecting to have this message there, but at the same time it's very cheap to make this message inside of the code. You don't need anything, but you still will attract proper people who are filtered by the place where this advertising is situated. So it's another example of cheap, simple, but very well working advertising. But as I told you, to make this advertising, you have to visualize every day the things
And
which happen
that,
every day.
Igor, is the question that I have. So now going back to you guys and your process and the way how you guys work. So even if we're not talking about Guerrilla, part of the process that most companies have working on employer branding is segmentation. So segmentation is one of the most important areas. So we know that the prior mentality was like to get as much candidates as you possibly could. This was not good because this increased the bureaucracy and the number of people that you had screening CVs and stuff like that. So the cost was much higher. But nowadays, even if we're not doing Guerrilla, and Guerrilla is much more advanced, segmentation is obviously the key. Normally, to do the right segmentation, there's also costs in doing that. So to understand what is regularly known as the talent personas of sorts,
Mhm.
normally companies go into their own people, they interview their own people, they try to get and learn the
Yes.
habits of their own people. And this is also not very cost friendly, but as soon as you have it and you have those talent personas, you know that in the next year you will hire 20, 30, 40, 1,000, it doesn't matter, people of that same skill set. So that stuff is done. It's already, you paid for that work, but that work really helped you in the long run. Here, when we're thinking about Guerrilla, we go, I think, layers below what normally is done in regards to segmentation, because segmentation normally is a work that we go and we see what sites do you see, stuff like that, but we normally don't go into your everyday life. So I think this is requires a lot more work. So how do you in Make Love, Igor, go about learning as much as you can about the people that you are trying to engage?
Okay, I have 2 points to answer. And the first point is I can't agree with you that this kind of communication needs to know a lot about people of particular group. For example, our case with coffee machine, it was it was made for all STEM
Yes,
guys, and that is why you are changing their image of your company in mind of all STEM guys. Later, you will have more people on the top of your funnel that will help you. At the same is about this website which I just showed. You are aiming this advertising to all developers, so you
correct.
are not thinking about this. So that is why I can say that it's not about really a really good segmentation. It's about working with one segment, with one huge segment at one time, and later your human resources people, it's much better to have more CVs than less CVs, that's for sure.
Yes,
And they will understand where which people are better suit the position. But your question was about this way how to segment people, and you already described it. You are right, there is no other way. Usually we go to the company, we ask our human resource managers, or we do this by ourselves, to make um, big target groups. So we can't talk with every person, like a front-end developer, front-end junior developer, and so on, because it will be really hard work to work with all the professions. So we make groups. For example, one group can be all developers and testers. Another group will include human resources, marketing, and other people. So people with the same background are usually sent to the same group. And from my experience, I can say that usually we have like 5 or 6 these big scale groups inside of the company of those people who have the same background, same knowledge, same interests, same values. And after that, we make, as you already said, like a brand. We call it brand champions. I mean, those portraits, which I mean, the description of the candidate, which portrays the best person for this particular target group.
hmm,
And only after that, we start trying to understand. We usually start
to ideate,
investigating
to
what
create.
this
Yeah,
this person does. So it's not that hard, but for sure it needs effort. And in case when we work with one particular auditor, for example, developers, we don't need to do this. We need just to talk with young developers, for example, students, and we talk with them. They tell us what they do usually, and after that we make a kind of timeline. I think it really helps when you put information on the board which says, okay, in morning they prefer to do this, in the evening they prefer to do this, and just thinking, okay, how Netflix can help me, how if they watch Netflix, how podcast can help me, how coffee machine can help me, and after that you come up to the idea or several ideas, and you discuss it with client. You try to count the budget, because budget can be huge in some cases,
Yeah.
and after that you come up to idea. Because the most important thing here is the mistake which lots of young creative people make. They consider, or human resource managers, they consider that they know what other people like or prefer, or how their routine looks like. But that's not true. If you are not a developer, you don't know anything about them. If you are not a marketing person, you don't.
I
So you
agree,
have to
Igor.
talk.
I agree. Yeah.
You have to talk with these people, and you will gain insights.
Yeah, for sure. We're in the last minutes, Igor. We have 4 minutes until we close this. I just like to ask you one simple question because, like you mentioned, you recently entered a new market, and I would
Yes.
just like to ask you how that experience has been. So, when we're talking about this and guerrilla marketing, has Brazil opened its arms to this new form of communication, just so we can understand also our own Portuguese market as well. So what are your thoughts on this new market that you guys just entered?
I can answer that. When we started to communicate with other markets, we understood that all markets are in different states. I mean, there are no same same trends on different markets, and I can say that we understood that all the things which already happened with us in Eastern Europe or in Western Europe, in Moscow, they didn't happen here. It's really hard to understand why this didn't happen, because I can give you an example. There was a really huge change in the market when in like 2015 in Europe, people started making brands. I'm not talking about huge companies like IBM or others, because they were involved in brand making from 80s. But most of the companies of the middle size or middle scale, they started doing this in 2015 approximately. When we arrived to Brazil, we found out that they didn't start doing this here yet. I mean, they just approaching this. I don't know the reason. Maybe they are far away from some news threats. Maybe they don't need it. Maybe some businesses just coming here. Again, I don't want to say that some countries are more developed than others. No, every country has its own story.
It's
That's the
maturity. It's maturity, Igor. We are developing, and
kind of.
the speed is different. Yeah.
Yes, kind of. Yes, I agree constantly. So sorry, completely, completely. And when we entered here, we had more expertise. So for local people, it's really hard. It's interesting to talk with gringos. I'm gringo here,
Yeah.
foreigner. It's interesting, but they don't believe that people can stay here for a long time. So when we entered, there were two main factors which helped us. We had local partners, guys who really well known on the market and who helped us to launch the whole thing. And it's Vinny
Yes.
Fernandez. You talked about it. That's our partner. And I really appreciate that she appeared in our team. And secondly, that's the sharing, because people here in Brazil, we found out that they love to meet each other, to share
Yes.
experiences,
Yes. Yes.
but they share all the same things, like uh, whether it's better to attract people or to work with employees who are inside your company. But there are so many other topics. There are so many other tools and instruments which we started using already. And I had this experience in Moscow because I saw how people turned from very simple topics to different kinds of new tools. Here is the
Perfect,
same.
Igor.
We
It
started
will
telling about
close.
this, and
We have 5 seconds, Igor, just to thank
yes,
everyone for attending. Thank you so much, Igor. See you guys soon. Bye
thank you very
bye.
much.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.